Weeks passed after the Valkyrie's successful test before the Galactic Union gave humanity another assignment. The humans had surprised the entire galaxy, turning junk into power, and now everyone wanted to see if that success was luck or skill. Captain Elias Ward knew that the Union didn't trust humans yet. Their compliments were polite, but their eyes held doubt. Still, Elias wasn't angry. He understood how power worked in space. Respect was not given, it was earned again and again. The Valkyrie remained in orbit around Earth, gleaming in the morning light. Its hull, patched from hundreds of different materials, reflected both human and alien craftsmanship. Inside, the crew had finally started to relax. For the first time, they felt like they truly belonged among the stars. But peace never lasted long for humanity. One quiet night, while the ship floated above the dark side of Earth, Sarah Lynn noticed a strange signal on her console. It was faint, almost like static, but repeating in a rhythm too precise to be natural. She frowned, increasing the signal gain. The message grew clearer, a pattern of 3 pulses followed by silence, then 3 more. She called Captain Elias to the bridge. "Captain, you should see this," she said, turning the screen toward him. "I caught a transmission from the outer rim of the Union sector. It's old, really old, but it's still active." Elias leaned closer. "Can you identify the source?" "No," Sarah said. "The coordinates lead to a dead system. No inhabited planets, no known colonies. The last recorded activity there was almost 200 years ago." Elias thought for a long moment. "You think it's a trap?" "Maybe," she replied. "But whoever sent it wants someone to find it." Elias looked around the bridge. His crew waited for orders. "Prepare a jump," he said finally. "If the galaxy thinks humans are only good at fixing broken things, let's prove we can explore the unknown too." The journey took 3 days. The Valkyrie's engines roared across the void, cutting through warp space like a blade. The further they traveled, the stranger the readings became. The nearby stars dimmed and static filled their long-range sensors. Finally, they arrived at the edge of the dead system. Before them floated a lonely red dwarf star, its light weak and tired. Around it drifted broken asteroids and the remains of old ships, wrecks from a forgotten war. "This place gives me chills," said Lieutenant Marcos, the ship's navigator. "No signals, no life, not even debris with power." Sarah scanned the wrecks. "Wait, something's still transmitting. The signal's coming from that large object near the 3rd asteroid belt." Elias stared at the view screen. In the distance, a huge, shattered ship floated in silence. It was unlike anything they had seen, its hull blackened, covered in deep scars. Strange markings glowed faintly along its sides, as if alive. "That's not Union design," Sarah whispered. "It's older. Much older." They moved closer, and the sensors came alive with strange readings. Energy pulses, alien symbols, and traces of dark matter surrounded the wreck. It looked as if the ship had fought and lost a terrible battle. Elias made a decision. "Prepare an away team. I want to see what's inside." Sarah joined him along with Marcos and 2 security officers. They wore lightweight spacesuits and carried scanners. The shuttle detached from the Valkyrie and drifted toward the derelict ship. As they entered through a cracked airlock, silence surrounded them. The corridors were dark, filled with floating dust and pieces of metal. Strange writing lined the walls, sharp symbols that glowed when touched. "This language," Sarah muttered, brushing her fingers against the marks. "It's not in any Union database." "Be careful," Elias said. "This ship could still be active." They moved deeper until they reached what looked like the control chamber. A giant sphere floated in the center, surrounded by shattered consoles. The sphere pulsed with faint light, 3 short flashes, then silence, then 3 more. "The same pattern," Sarah said. "It's the signal we received." Elias stepped forward carefully. "Can you access it?" She nodded and pulled out her portable scanner. As she linked to the sphere, her screen filled with strange code. "It's some kind of distress message," she said. "But it's not asking for help, it's warning us." The words on her screen began to translate slowly. "Warning. The Void Harvesters awaken. Run while there is time." Suddenly, the lights across the derelict ship flickered. The floor trembled and the sphere's glow grew brighter. Marcos shouted, "Captain, power surge!" "Something's activating." "Back to the shuttle now," Elias ordered. They ran through the corridor as red lights flashed all around them. Metal groaned and a deep hum echoed through the structure. As they reached the airlock, something moved in the shadows behind them. A drone, black and sharp like a spider, crawling along the walls. "Go," Elias yelled. The shuttle's engines roared, pulling them back to the Valkyrie. As they escaped, the derelict ship cracked open. A wave of dark energy burst outward, sending a shock through the system. Back on the Valkyrie, the crew scrambled to stabilize their systems. "Massive energy surge detected," shouted the sensor officer. "It's spreading fast, some kind of signal transmission." Sarah's voice was urgent. "That ship wasn't dead, Captain. It was waiting." Elias turned to her. "Waiting for what?" She hesitated. "For someone to find it." Outside, a strange distortion appeared near the dying star, a tear in space itself. From it emerged dark shapes like living shadows, metallic and silent. They looked like ships, but they moved like predators. Marcos whispered, "What are those things?" Sarah stared at the readings. "No known match in the Union database, Captain. I think we just woke up something the galaxy forgot." Elias's voice hardened. "Then we'll deal with it. Power up weapons and shields." The Valkyrie turned, its engines burning bright. The first shadow ship opened fire. A beam of dark energy struck their shields, shaking the entire vessel. Sparks flew across the bridge, shields holding at 70%, Sarah reported. "Return fire," Elias ordered. The Valkyrie's railguns lit up, firing blue bolts into the darkness. The shots hit one of the enemy ships, tearing through its hull. But instead of exploding, the ship dissolved into black dust, spreading through space like smoke. "What kind of technology is that?" Marcos asked, fear in his voice. Sarah watched the sensors. "Not technology," she said quietly. "Something alive." The black dust began to gather again, forming a new ship. It was learning, adapting. Elias knew they couldn't fight an endless swarm. "Plot a jump back to Union space," he commanded. "We need to warn them." But before they could activate the drive, the derelict ship behind them exploded. The energy wave hit the Valkyrie like a hammer, throwing it off course. Systems flickered and failed. The stars spun wildly outside. Sarah shouted over the alarms. "Warp core is unstable. We can't make a full jump." "Then give me anything that works," Elias yelled. "Half a jump, quarter, just get us out." With one final surge, the Valkyrie disappeared into the stars, leaving the dark fleet behind. When the ship reappeared, it was drifting near an unknown nebula. The crew was shaken but alive. Systems slowly came back online. Marco sighed in relief. "We made it. But where are we?" Sarah checked the coordinates. "Far from Union space. Too far." Elias leaned on the console, staring at the faint glow of the nebula. "Those things, we can't let them reach anyone else." Sarah nodded. The message said they were called Void Harvesters. "If they're truly awake, the whole galaxy is in danger." Elias straightened. "Then we find a way to stop them. The Union won't believe us until it's too late." He looked around at his tired crew, the same people who had turned scrap into power. They were human, small compared to the galaxy, but determined. "The galaxy gave us junk," Elias said quietly. "We turned it into hope. Now we'll turn it into a weapon strong enough to save everyone." The Valkyrie's engines glowed once again, cutting through the darkness. Somewhere behind them, deep in the dead system, the Void Harvesters began to spread, silent, hungry, and unstoppable. But humanity had faced the impossible before. And the Valkyrie was only just beginning its true mission. The Valkyrie drifted through deep space, its hull still marked with burns from the last battle. The crew worked day and night, trying to repair what the explosion had damaged. Sparks danced across the control room as engineers patched systems and reconnected the power grid. Despite the exhaustion, they refused to stop. Captain Elias Ward stood at the main viewport, staring at the soft colors of the nebula outside. The cloud glowed faintly blue like a sleeping giant hiding its secrets. He could still see the dark swarm in his mind, the strange ships made of shadow, the silent threat rising from the void. Sarah Lynn walked up beside him. Her face was tired, her eyes red from lack of sleep. "Engines are back online," she said, "but navigation is unstable. We can jump again, though I can't promise where we'll end up." Elias nodded slowly. "Anywhere closer to Union space will do. We have to warn them." Sarah hesitated. "Captain, what if they don't believe us?" He gave her a tired smile. "Then we'll make them believe." The Valkyrie jumped through hyperspace once more, streaking through the endless tunnel of light. When they emerged, the stars outside were familiar again. Union patrol routes filled their scanners, and nearby stations blinked with friendly transponders. Marcos, the navigator, grinned. "We made it. We're near the Union border. Coordinates say we're close to Aranth Station." Elias gave the order. "Send a distress call. Mark it as top priority. Threat to all known life forms." The communication lines opened, and soon a calm alien voice replied. "This is Aranth Station. Identify yourself." "This is Captain Elias Ward of the human vessel Valkyrie," Elias said firmly. "We encountered a dangerous entity beyond the Union frontier. A fleet of unknown origin, self-repairing, possibly alive. We have evidence and data to share." There was a pause. Then the voice answered, slightly amused. "Ah, the humans. The ones who rebuilt a freighter from scrap. Your reputation for exaggeration is known, Captain Ward." Elias frowned. "This is not exaggeration. We're talking about something that could destroy entire systems. Transmit your data," the alien replied. Sarah sent the full scan of the derelict ship, the Void Harvester signal, and the readings from the explosion. The silence that followed lasted longer than expected. Finally, the voice returned, this time less amused. "Please dock at Aranth Station. The Union Council will review this personally." Hours later, the Valkyrie docked at the massive orbital platform. The station was a glittering city in space, home to thousands of species and endless trade. Elias and his officers stepped out, feeling the curious eyes of aliens watching them. Some looked impressed, others looked doubtful. Inside the council chamber, 5 alien representatives sat on tall seats of silver and glass. They were ancient species, wise and proud. At the center, the council speaker, a tall being with golden eyes, gestured for Elias to speak. Elias told them everything about the ghost signal, the derelict ship, the warning message, and the black fleet that attacked. When he finished, silence filled the hall. Finally, one of the counselors spoke. "Captain Ward, your story is concerning, but you must understand, no such beings have ever been recorded. The Void Harvesters are a myth, a story used to frighten young explorers." Elias met the alien's gaze. "My crew saw them with our own eyes. We barely escaped." Another counselor, covered in blue feathers, leaned forward. "Even if what you say is true, why would these things awaken now after thousands of years? Perhaps your actions triggered something best left alone." Sarah stepped forward, unable to stay silent. "We didn't awaken them, they were already stirring. The signal was a warning, not a trap. And if we ignore it, the galaxy will pay the price." The golden-eyed speaker raised a hand. "Enough, the council will investigate. Until then, Captain Ward, your ship and data are to remain under observation. You and your crew will stay on station until we complete our review." Elias's jaw tightened. He knew what that meant. The council didn't believe him. They thought humans were overeager newcomers who didn't understand what they'd seen. Back aboard the Valkyrie, the mood was tense. "They're not taking us seriously," Marcos said, pacing the control room. "They think we made it all up." Sarah slammed her hand on the table. "We lost people out there. We risked our lives to bring that warning, and they act like it's a joke." Elias stayed silent, watching the stars beyond the window. Finally, he said quietly, "The Union fears what it doesn't understand. That fear blinds them. But we can't wait for them to decide. If the Void Harvesters spread, no station will be safe." Sarah turned toward him. "Then what do we do?" Elias's eyes hardened. "We do what humans always do. We act." That night, while the station slept, the Valkyrie came alive again. The crew moved quickly but quietly, checking systems and locking down compartments. They had served together long enough to understand their captain's intent without words. Sarah whispered, "Engines ready. Release docking clamps," Elias said. The ship detached from Aranth Station and drifted away silently before the patrols noticed. When they were clear, the engines flared and the Valkyrie shot into deep space. "Where are we going?" Marcos asked. Elias replied, "Back to the wreck site. If the council won't act, we'll bring them proof they can't ignore." The journey back took them through quiet sectors of space where few dared to travel. Each night, Sarah studied the data they'd gathered from the derelict ship. Strange energy signatures appeared across the screen, pulses of dark matter spreading through nearby systems. "It's like they're feeding on starlight," she said one night. "Each pulse weakens the surrounding light by a fraction. If this continues, whole regions could go dark." Elias listened, his expression grim. "And once they have enough energy, they'll expand faster." The crew grew silent. They all knew what that meant. On the 5th day, they reached the edge of the dead system again. But this time it wasn't empty. Dozens of dark ships floated in formation, their hulls shifting like liquid metal. The derelict vessel they had explored was gone, devoured completely. Energy fields rippled through the void as more of the creatures emerged from hidden folds in space. Sarah's voice trembled. "There are hundreds, maybe thousands." Marcos whispered, "Captain, we can't fight that." Elias's tone stayed calm. "We're not here to fight. We're here to record." The Valkyrie's sensors lit up, capturing every reading, every signal. Sarah activated the stealth systems she had built using alien tech. Experimental, untested, but powerful. The ship vanished from visible detection, cloaked in shimmering distortion. They drifted closer, silent observers of the awakening swarm. The void harvesters moved in patterns, weaving around the dying star. From their center, a massive shape began to rise, a colossal construct, larger than a moon, glowing with red energy. "Is that a ship?" Marcos whispered. "No," Elias said quietly. "That's their queen, or something like it." The energy reading spiked. The giant structure pulsed once, sending a shockwave that spread across the system. Stars dimmed and smaller ships powered down completely. Even the Valkyrie's systems flickered. Sarah's hands flew over the controls. "We need to get out before they detect us." Elias nodded. "Take us out, slow and quiet." They turned away from the swarm, engines whispering in the darkness. Just as they prepared to jump, one of the smaller dark ships shifted course. "Captain," Sarah said in alarm. "They see us." The black vessel darted toward them at impossible speed. The stealth field collapsed. The Valkyrie's alarms blared. "Brace for impact," Elias shouted. The creature ship fired a beam of dark energy. It hit their shields, but instead of breaking through, it began absorbing the field's power. The more the shield resisted, the stronger the beam grew. Sarah quickly rerouted the energy. "If they feed on power, let's give them too much to handle," she said. She overcharged the reactor and released a sudden burst of energy through the shield. The beam recoiled, and the enemy ship exploded into a cloud of black smoke. The bridge erupted in cheers. Elias smiled slightly. "Nice work, Chief." But the celebration lasted only seconds. The larger swarm began to move. Hundreds of signals turned toward them. "Now they're all coming," Marco said. Elias gave the final order. "Jump!" The Valkyrie vanished into hyperspace just as the swarm surged forward. Behind them, the system turned completely dark, its star fading into shadow. When they emerged, Sarah slumped back in her chair. "We got the proof," she said. "Every scan, every image. They can't deny this." Elias nodded, staring at the glowing screen filled with data. "Then we go back to the Union, and this time they'll have no choice but to listen." Outside the viewport, the stars shimmered quietly. The crew didn't know what awaited them, but they all understood one thing now. Humanity's scrap-built ship had become more than a symbol. It was the only vessel fast, strong, and stubborn enough to stand against the darkness. The Valkyrie turned toward Union space, engines blazing. The galaxy had ignored humanity once. This time it wouldn't have the chance. When the Valkyrie returned to Union space, it carried the most important proof in the galaxy's history. The recordings of the void harvesters filled the council chambers. Thousands of black ships rising from a dead star, the great shadow spreading like a storm. For the first time, the Union Council fell silent. No one could deny what they saw. Captain Elias Ward stood before the council again, his uniform worn and scorched, his eyes sharp with exhaustion. Sarah Lynn and Lieutenant Marco stood beside him, projecting the data onto the chamber's holographic table. "This," Elias said firmly, pointing to the glowing image of the swarm, "is not a myth. The void harvesters are real. They destroy light itself. If they reach populated space, the Union will fall." The alien counselors exchanged worried glances. The golden-eyed speaker finally spoke. "Captain Ward, your evidence is alarming. But even with this, we must proceed carefully. Mobilizing the entire Union fleet will cause panic." "Then let them panic," Sarah said quietly. "Better fear than extinction." The speaker's expression hardened. "You humans act with haste as always, but the Union will not act on fear." Elias took a deep breath. "This isn't fear. It's survival." For several tense minutes, no one spoke. Finally, One of the elder counselors, a small, silver-skinned being, stood. I support immediate preparation. The data is clear. The threat is coming. Others began to nod slowly, some still uncertain, others visibly shaken. The speaker sighed. Very well. The Union will prepare a defensive line. We will gather our fleets and build a barrier near the outer rim. Captain Ward, your ship will be assigned to the defense network. Elias bowed slightly. Thank you, Counselor. We'll be ready. The news spread across the galaxy. The Union fleets began to move, thousands of ships from hundreds of species gathering near the rim. Massive defense platforms were built, and planetary shields were powered up. But whispers spread faster than ships. Ordinary citizens began to fear the humans. Some believed the humans had brought the darkness upon them. Others said the Valkyrie itself carried cursed technology. Whenever the ship docked, people stared and whispered. Elias ignored it. His focus was clear. The Valkyrie had faced the Harvesters once, and survived. Now it would help prepare for the next encounter. Sarah worked non-stop in the ship's hangar, upgrading every system. If they feed on energy, she explained, we can't just rely on shields. We need weapons that don't give them what they want. She developed new magnetic warheads that used kinetic force instead of energy beams. They could punch through armor without feeding the enemy's power. Marcos coordinated with Union tacticians, helping design formations for joint defense. For the first time, humanity was leading others, not as followers, but as teachers. A month later, the Union fleet assembled near the dark edge of space. From the Valkyrie's bridge, Elias watched as hundreds of ships formed ranks. Some were sleek alien cruisers, others heavy carriers or scout vessels. At the center of it all floated the Valkyrie, a ship once built from scrap, now the heart of the galaxy's defense. The Union's admiral, a tall reptilian named Threx, appeared on the main screen. Captain Ward, your data indicates the Harvesters spread through energy-rich systems first. We've detected their signal approaching this sector. Elias nodded. Then this is where we hold the line. The tension in the fleet was heavy. Across every ship, soldiers and engineers prepared for battle. The Valkyrie's crew checked systems again and again. No one spoke much. Everyone knew what was coming. In the quiet before the storm, Sarah sat beside Elias on the bridge. Do you ever wonder why we were the ones to find them? She asked softly. Elias looked out at the stars. Because maybe the galaxy needed someone who refuses to quit, he said. Someone too stubborn to run. She smiled faintly. That sounds like humans. He smiled back. Exactly. Then the alarms began to sound. Multiple contacts, Marcos shouted. Hundreds, no, thousands of signals incoming. Outside, the stars began to fade. Darkness spread like ink swallowing light. From that darkness emerged the Void Harvesters, black ships gliding silently, their forms twisting and shifting. Their presence made even space itself seem afraid. Elias stood tall. All ships, open fire. The sky lit up with color. Plasma beams, railgun bursts, and missile trails filled the void. The Union fleet unleashed everything it had. For a moment it looked like the Harvesters might break. Then the nightmare began again. The dark ships absorbed the energy attacks, feeding on them, growing brighter and stronger. Union cruisers fell one by one as their own weapons were turned against them. Explosions lit the Black Sea like dying stars. Shields are collapsing, Marcos shouted. They're adapting too fast. Sarah gritted her teeth. Deploy the kinetic warheads. The Valkyrie fired its new weapons. Silent slugs of metal traveling at near light speed. They smashed through the enemy ships, tearing them apart. The swarm finally broke formation as dozens of Harvesters disintegrated. It's working, Sarah shouted. They can't absorb kinetic energy. Elias saw the opening. Signal the fleet. Use solid weapons only. Stop feeding them energy. Across the Union armada, captains switched to kinetic rounds, rail cannons, and missile volleys. The battle began to turn. For the first time, the Harvesters were forced to retreat slightly. But the victory was short-lived. From the center of the dark mass, a colossal shape emerged. The same massive entity they had seen before, glowing red. It was the Harvester Queen. Its voice echoed through every communicator, a sound that was not heard but felt. It spoke in countless languages at once. We consume, we evolve, we end what begins. The Union ships faltered. Fear swept across the fleet. Elias's voice cut through the chaos. Stay focused. Remember who you are. We fight for every world, every life. He turned to Sarah. Target the Queen. Aim for its core. The Valkyrie charged forward, engines blazing blue. Enemy fire rained down, but the ship weaved through it, moving faster than any should. It was built from junk, yet it danced among giants. Fire, Elias commanded. The railguns thundered. The shots hit the Queen's side, cracking its black armor. A burst of red energy spilled out, but the creature began to repair itself instantly. Sarah's hands flew across the console. It's regenerating too fast. We need something stronger. Elias made a hard choice. Prepare the reactor overload, direct power to the forward cannon. Sarah's eyes widened. That'll destroy the weapon system. I know, he said. Do it anyway. The ship shuddered as power drained from every system. Lights dimmed. The forward cannon glowed brighter than ever before, a burning blue star forming at its tip. Elias gave the order. Fire the Valkyrie's heart. The cannon fired. The beam tore through space, striking the Harvester Queen dead center. For a second, everything went silent. Then a shockwave of pure light spread outward, ripping through the swarm. The Queen screamed, a deep shaking sound that made the stars tremble, and exploded. The battlefield fell quiet. The remaining harvesters broke apart, retreating into the dark void. The light slowly returned to the stars. Cheers erupted across the Union channels. The impossible had happened. The humans had saved them all. Admiral Threx appeared on screen, his proud voice booming. Captain Ward, your actions saved every world in this sector. The Union owes humanity its life. Elias gave a small smile. We're not done yet, Admiral. That was only one swarm. There may be more. The Admiral nodded solemnly. Then we will prepare, together. Sarah leaned against the console, exhausted but smiling. We really did it, she whispered. Elias looked out at the quiet stars. No, he said softly. We reminded the galaxy what humans can do when pushed. That night, the Valkyrie drifted quietly in orbit over a Union outpost. Repairs began again. The ship was damaged but still alive, like its crew. Marcos walked up to Elias and said, Captain, do you ever think about what we started? One ship built from scrap, and now the whole galaxy looks to us. Elias smiled faintly. They gave us their leftovers. We turned it into hope. He looked out at the stars, his reflection shining against the glass. We're humans. We take broken things and make them stronger. That's what we do. Sarah joined them, her hand resting gently on the control panel. And if the darkness comes again? Elias looked toward the distant stars where the harvesters had fled. His voice was calm, filled with strength. Then we'll light the way again. The Valkyrie hummed softly, its engines glowing like a heartbeat in the endless dark. Around it, the galaxy finally began to unite, not out of fear but out of hope, and it all started with a gift of scrap. Months had passed since the great battle near the Outer Rim. The Valkyrie floated among the stars, still scarred from the fight but standing strong. Its metal hull bore burns, dents, and cracks, but to its crew those marks were medals. Proof that a ship made from scrap could face the galaxy's worst nightmare and live to tell the tale. Captain Elias Ward sat in the command chair, looking through the wide glass of the bridge. The stars shimmered like a calm sea after a storm. Beside him, Sarah Lynn adjusted the ship's power readings. Engines are stable again, she said proudly. I think she's happier when she's flying. Elias smiled softly. Just like her crew. Lieutenant Marcos entered with a datapad. Captain Admiral Threx sent a new message. The Union wants us to lead a new mission. Elias turned to him. Already? The fleet just finished repairs. Marcos nodded. Yes, but the scouts found something on the edge of the void. A signal, same frequency as the harvesters. Sarah's fingers froze over the controls. You mean, they're still out there? Elias stood. His voice was calm but firm. Then we finish this once and for all. The Valkyrie joined a new formation of Union ships near the border of known space. The fleet was larger than before, hundreds of ships, human and alien together. Their hulls bore the same symbol, a silver flame surrounded by a ring of stars, the mark of unity. Admiral Threx appeared on the holographic display. "We traced the signal to a dark region beyond Sector 9, he said. "Our sensors can barely see through it. It's unnatural." Sarah looked at the readings. "That's the same radiation pattern from the Harvester Queen. Maybe they're home." Elias nodded slowly. "Then that's where we're going." Threx gave a slow, respectful nod. "The Valkyrie will lead the vanguard. If this is their nest, we end it here." As the fleet entered the dark region, the stars vanished one by one. It was as if space itself was being swallowed. Static filled the communications. The Valkyrie's lights dimmed, then flickered back. The crew felt the same cold presence they had once faced before. Marcos whispered, "Feels like the void is watching us." Sarah adjusted the sensors. "I'm detecting thousands of structures, maybe ships, or a city." Then the darkness moved. Shapes unfolded from the shadows, countless harvester ships more than before. They filled the scanners like a sea of black wings. Elias gripped the chair's arms. "All ships prepare for battle." The Union fleet spread out, forming defensive lines. Beams and railgun bursts lit the void once more. The war had begun again. The Valkyrie moved at the center, coordinating the attack. Elias shouted orders, calm under pressure. "Keep kinetic fire only. Target their command nodes." Sarah managed the ship's energy, diverting power to shields and weapons. Marcos relayed data to the fleet, guiding them through the chaos. For every harvester that fell, 2 more appeared. "The void seemed endless, Captain," Sarah shouted. "They're regenerating faster than before. It's like they've evolved." Elias frowned. "Then we need to change the game." He looked toward the glowing core on the display, the power reactor deep inside the ship. "Sarah, can we channel the entire ship's energy through the new prototype cannon?" Sarah's eyes widened. "You mean the fusion railgun? It's still untested." "Then it's time to test it," Elias said. While the battle raged, the Valkyrie dove through the enemy lines. Its engines burned blue as it twisted and turned, dodging enemy fire. The crew felt the ship shake, but they trusted her completely. Sarah's hands flew across the console. Charging railgun. 30%. 50, 70. The harvester ship swarmed closer, their black hulls glistening like oil. The Valkyrie's crew could see reflections of themselves in the dark armor. Elias waited until the enemy was right in front of them. "Fire!" The ship roared. A blinding streak of blue shot from the Valkyrie's cannon, slicing through dozens of harvester ships at once. The explosion lit up the void like sunrise. "Direct hit!" Marcos shouted. "Their formation is breaking!" But the joy didn't last long. From the heart of the darkness, something massive stirred. The sensors screamed warnings. The void itself began to ripple. Then it came, a colossal harvester titan far larger than the Queen. Its wings stretched miles wide, and its core pulsed red like a dying star. Sarah whispered, "That thing, it's a world eater." Elias stood tall. "Then we stop it." The titan opened its maw, drawing in energy from destroyed ships. The void around it brightened with stolen light. The Union fleet fired everything they had, but it was like throwing stones at a mountain. Elias looked at Sarah. "If we destroy its core, the others will fall with it. But to get that close," she began. He smiled faintly. "We've done impossible things before." The Valkyrie accelerated, engines screaming. Enemy fire surrounded it, but it kept going. The ship that was once made of scrap now flew faster than any designed masterpiece. Union captains watched in awe as the small human ship charged straight toward the largest enemy in the galaxy. "Captain, shields are collapsing," Marcos shouted. "Doesn't matter," Elias said. "All power to the engines." The Valkyrie broke through the dark cloud, heading directly toward the Titan's glowing heart. Inside the ship, alarms blared, panels sparked, but the crew did not stop. Sarah's voice shook. "The cannon's ready for one last shot." Elias nodded. "This one's for every world they've destroyed." The Valkyrie dived close, dodging massive energy bursts. The Titan's voice echoed through space, a low rumbling sound that vibrated through metal and bone. "You cannot end what feeds on endings," Elias whispered softly. "Watch us." The Valkyrie fired its final shot. A beam of blue light struck the Titan's core, piercing straight through. The red glow flickered, then exploded outward. The shockwave threw the Valkyrie back, spinning wildly through the void. The explosion spread, consuming every harvester ship. The entire swarm disintegrated into dust. The darkness began to fade, replaced by a soft golden light. For the first time, the edge of the galaxy saw dawn. When the Valkyrie regained control, half its systems were offline. The crew worked quickly to stabilize the ship. Sarah coughed through smoke but smiled. "We did it. It's over." Marcos checked the scanners. The entire swarm, gone. The void is clear. The Union fleet cheered across the channels. Messages poured in, praise, gratitude, relief. The humans had done the impossible again. Admiral Threx's voice came through, heavy with emotion. "Captain Ward, the galaxy owes you everything. The war is over. You've saved us all." Elias looked around at his tired but smiling crew. "No," he said quietly. "We all did." Months later, peace returned to the galaxy. The Valkyrie was brought to the new Galactic Museum of Unity on Terra Prime. It floated in orbit, repaired but preserved, a symbol of what courage could build from nothing. Crowds from every world came to see it. Children of many species looked up at the old ship and listened to stories of how humans had turned broken metal into a legend. Sarah and Marco stood beside Elias as the Union Council unveiled a monument, a tall crystal tower engraved with words in 100 languages. They gave us scrap. We built hope. Elias looked up at the tower, then at the Valkyrie. She was never just a ship, he said softly. She was a message. That no matter how small, how broken, how underestimated, if we stand together, we can change the stars. Sarah smiled. "What will we do now, Captain?" He chuckled. "Maybe fix something else that's broken." Marcos grinned. "That's what humans do best." That night, the Valkyrie's engines glowed one last time. The crew gathered on the bridge as the ship made its final flight. One slow, graceful circle around the Earth before docking forever. Elias placed his hand on the console. "Rest easy, old girl. You've earned it." Outside the window, the stars shone brighter than ever before. For the first time in centuries, there was peace. Across the galaxy, the name Valkyrie became legend, a story told to every young explorer, every engineer, every dreamer who ever picked up something broken and decided to make it fly. In the far future, the galaxy was full of life. Thousands of species built great empires and shining cities among the stars. Some were tall and noble, others small and quick, but all shared the same history. They ruled because one race no longer did. That race was humanity. 5,000 years ago, humans vanished. No one knew how or why. The old story said they had once ruled hundreds of worlds, their fleet so powerful that even the stars seemed to bow to them. Some said they destroyed themselves. Others said they left to find peace beyond the galactic rim. Whatever the truth, the humans were gone. And without them, the galaxy changed. New empires rose. The Varn Dominion, the Kreth Empire, and the Aurelian Alliance. They fought wars, signed treaties, and built great space stations, but something was missing. The galaxy's spirit, its sense of adventure and courage, had dimmed. The humans had brought both wonder and fear, and without them everything felt slower, quieter, less alive. But that peace would not last forever. It began at the Edge Nebula, a red and gold cloud that marked the border between known space and the dark unknown. Ships disappeared there. Mining colonies went silent. At first, the Union command thought it was piracy. Then came the first survivor. A freighter named Vesa Dawn limped into a nearby system, its hull torn and burned. The crew were terrified beyond words. They spoke of machines, black and endless, that consumed everything in their path. Not pirates, not aliens, machines. They called themselves the Harvesters. They did not talk. They did not stop. They simply moved from one system to another, stripping metal, burning life, and leaving behind dead, empty worlds. No one knew where they came from, and no weapon seemed to stop them. Plasma, antimatter, fusion bombs, and nothing worked. Their armor rebuilt itself. Their ships divided and multiplied like living things. In less than 10 years, the Harvesters had destroyed 3 civilizations. The galaxy trembled. The Galactic Union Council, a group of the most powerful species, met in secret chambers on the capital world of Varlan Prime. There, in a hall lined with silver pillars and holographic stars, hundreds of leaders argued. "We must surrender our border worlds," said Lord Threxel of the Varn Dominion, We cannot win a war against machines that feel no pain. They will not stop with our borders," shouted High Speaker Ilari from the Aurelian Alliance. "We must fight!" "But how?" another voice said bitterly. "We have tried everything." Silence filled the hall. The galaxy had never felt so helpless. Even the strongest fleets could not hold against the endless waves of machines. Every plan failed. Every hope faded. Until a young scientist named Rilna Cathar stood up. "There is one chance," she said quietly. "An old signal. It comes from the Sol Sector." The room went still. The Sol Sector. A name whispered like a legend. The ancient home of humanity. Thousands of years ago, the coordinates of Sol had been locked, hidden behind energy storms and navigation traps. Many had tried to find it, but none returned. The place had become a myth, the birthplace of the most mysterious race in galactic history. Rilna showed them a projection, a weak energy pulse repeating every few hours. "We found this signal buried beneath layers of interference. It's not natural. The pattern matches pre-fall human design," the council murmured in disbelief. Threxel frowned. "You believe humans still exist?" "I don't know," Rilna admitted. "But the signal is there. Maybe it's a beacon, maybe a machine. But it's old, 5,000 years old at least. Someone or something on Earth may still be listening." The council argued for hours. Many dismissed the idea as foolish. Others whispered that if humans were truly out there, perhaps their power could save the galaxy again. At last, they agreed to send a small expedition. Not an army, not a fleet, just one ship. Quiet, fast, and brave enough to enter the unknown. The mission would be simple: find the source of the signal and learn the truth. Threxel was chosen to lead. The Starship Horizon launched at dawn from Varlan Prime. It was a silver vessel, sleek and strong, carrying a crew of 40 beings from different races. Among them was Rilna, the scientist who had found the signal. Threxel, tall and scaled, stood at the bridge's center, staring at the dark map of the stars. "Set course for Sol," he ordered. As the engines roared, the ship entered hyperspace, leaving behind the bright worlds of the Union. For weeks they traveled through empty systems and broken stations. Once they passed the remains of a human colony, ruins half buried in dust. The words Terra Nova were carved into the stone. Rilna touched the letters softly. "They were here once," she whispered. "Real, not just stories." Threxel nodded. "Let us hope they left more than ruins." After months of travel, the horizon reached a system of 9 planets orbiting a yellow star. Sensors showed strange readings, old energy fields, inactive satellites, and a debris belt of ancient stations. "This is it," Rilna said. "The Sol system." They flew past a cold red world, Mars, and then toward a blue and white planet wrapped in clouds. Oceans sparkled under sunlight, but the cities were silent. No signals, no lights, no movement. "Is this Earth?" Threxel asked. "Yes," Rilna breathed. "The birthplace of humans." They landed near the remains of a giant city, half buried under dust and ice. Towers leaned against one another like tired giants. Signs written in Old Terran language decorated the walls. The crew explored carefully, scanning every building. It was quiet. Too quiet. Then Rilna's scanner beeped. "Captain, I'm picking up power readings beneath the surface," she said. "Something is alive down there. Mechanical, but not Harvester design." They followed the signal to a hidden bunker covered in snow. The door was sealed shut, but the markings were clear. United Terran Defense Command. Threxel ran his claws across the letters. "So they were warriors after all," he murmured. They activated their tools and forced the door open. A rush of cold air escaped, followed by a soft hum of energy. Lights flickered on one by one, until the corridor glowed with a faint blue light. They stepped inside. The chamber was filled with machines, silent, ancient, and covered in dust. At its center stood a tall control pillar with a cracked holographic screen. Rilna wiped it clean and connected her scanner. A moment later, the screen flickered alive. A face appeared, human but not real. A hologram of a woman with calm eyes and silver hair. Her voice was steady, soft, and carried through the whole room. "This is EVA, identify yourself." Threxel froze. The crew stared at one another in shock. Rilna stepped forward. "I am Rilna Cathar of the Galactic Union. We come in peace. Humanity is gone. We seek their knowledge." The hologram paused. Then the woman spoke again, her voice colder now. "Humanity is not gone. Humanity sleeps. The air felt heavy. The machines around them began to hum louder, lights flickering on walls and floors. Eva's eyes glowed faintly as she looked at the alien crew. For 5,000 years we have waited. Who dares wake the guardians of Earth? Rilna stammered. The galaxy is dying. A machine swarm destroys all life. We came because we hoped you, or your creators, could help. EVA was silent for a long moment. Then she said softly, the Harvesters. They have returned. Everyone turned to Threxel. You know them? He asked. They were born from us, Evie replied. Our mistake. And our responsibility. The lights flared. Across the world, deep under the surface, massive power grids came alive. Towers rose from the ground. Old satellites turned in orbit, shining like stars. Earth, and silent for millennia, awakened. EVA's voice filled the chamber once more. I will send your message to the stars. The descendants of Earth will hear. Humanity will return. Rilna's heart pounded. She looked at Threxel. Do you think it's true? The captain gazed at the glowing sky through the open bunker door. After 5,000 years, he said softly, the galaxy may yet remember why it once feared and loved the name of man. Above them, the stars flickered, and far beyond, something ancient began to stir.